Hello guys, this video is part 4th of microservice tutorial. In first part, we discussed monolithic and microservice architecture in details. In second part, we created a Spring Boot application from scratch, and this video is very useful for the beginner. In third part, we created a Spring Boot application using MySQL, and in this video, we created our first microservice student. If you have not seen all these videos, so please go ahead and first see those videos, then continue with this video. Before moving forward, I would like to request you to please like and share this video and subscribe the channel. Based on this microservice architecture, we already created our first microservice student. There we used MySQL database. We kept application name as student underscore service. We use Java language and Spring framework. Now we have to create our second microservice course. For this, we will use MSSQL, Microsoft SQL database, SQL server, and we will keep application name as course underscore service. Here also we will use language and Spring Boot for the development. This was our first microservice, student microservice. So similarly, we will create now a course microservice. So to create that, we need a Spring Boot starter project. So for that, let's go to Spring Initializer, same like before. Just go to your browser, type Spring Initializer, then come here. Same like before, I will choose here Maven project, Java, and I'll keep Spring Boot version 2.5.2. I'll keep here com.code as a group name, and then artifact I will keep course. And leave it like this. Remove this one from here. We want package name should be started from com.code, and Java I'll keep version 8 because this is installed in my system. Here we can choose dependency. So for dependency, first of all we need REST API, so we will use web. This is useful for building web including RESTful application using Spring MVC, and this uses Apache Tomcat as a default embedded container. And now we already know that we are going to use MSSQL database, so we will use MSSQL server driver, and we need Spring Data JPA. So this is useful for the Hypernet APIs. Okay, Spring Persistence API. Now we have all our dependencies. Let's click here, generate, and store it in desktop, project, course. Let's go there, unzip this, zip here. Okay, here it is. Now let's come to your STS, Spring Tool Suite, import existing Maven project. Let's go to that folder, project, and course. Again inside that we got .mvn, select folder and finish. All dependencies are downloaded. Now let's see, we have here our starter web, MSSQL JDBC and data JPA. Okay guys, if you have any confusion in this, so please go ahead and watch our second video where I have created a Spring Boot project from scratch, and the third video where I have created a Spring Boot project using MySQL. So there I have discussed and explained in very details. Now we got our starter project. Now let me first create our database. So to create database, start Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. First connect to the server instance, and now here we will create our own database, and we will create user for that database and login. So here we have to create login and user. Logins are created at server level and users are created at database level. In other words, login allows you to connect to the SQL Server service and permission inside the database are granted to the database user. So let me first create database. So create database. We'll keep the name as db underscore course. Okay, select execute query. Okay, we have a database now. Click on this database and here we have this database. Now we have to create login. So click on this security, right click on logins, new login. Okay, let's give the login name course. Click here SQL Server authentications. For this we need password. You can keep your own password, confirm password, and uncheck this user must change password at next login. Okay, this is not required. And then no need to change anything, click OK. Now we have to create user on database. So go to the database which we created, double click on this, double click on security, right click on users, new user. So for simplicity we will keep username as course, login name we want whatever we created, course, and default date schema we will keep dbo. Here we don't have to do anything, click OK. Now we can log in now with the login which we created just now, but we cannot create any table inside this database. So to give that permission, we have to come to this login, double click on this logins and click on this course, double click. It will open the login properties. Okay, so we have to go to server roles and click on bulk admin. So here this public and bulk admin should be ticked. Click OK. Again double click on course and come to user mapping. Here we can see that this user course is for this database with DBO schema. Highlight this one and then from here this database role membership we have to click public and DB owner. So we have the permission of DB owner for this user on this database. Click OK. Now we are good to go. Now disconnect from here because we were logged in through master a master instance. So first disconnect from here and then we will again log in. Click here and choose SQL Server authentication. Keep course as login, password, and you can click here remember password, then click connect. Now we are connected and we have already database DB course inside this. Here this one. Now we will create our first table on this. So for that we'll first write use DB course, and after doing this we can create our table. So we are going to create our first table course. So the statement is create table course. Here is the ID primary key which is integer, and we will keep a name for the course like BTech, MTech, BSc, MSc. This could be the name for the course, and duration of the course like 3 years, 4 years. Okay, select this and click execute. Okay, now we have course table. Let's do query on this. Select asterisk from course. Of course it will not have any data for now. Okay, we are good to go. Now we will use this login course and password to connect from our application, our Spring Boot application. Now let's go to Spring Boot application. So we have already seen this form.xml, and here in com.code package we have our main method class which is annotated with @Spring Boot application. I have explained this annotation in detail in my second video So you can go ahead and watch that video. Now, guys, let me write all the codes for this course microservice and then we will come for discussion. Now I have added all the required codes for the course microservice. See here, this was the base package when we created this starter project. I added one controller package, entity package to keep all entities inside this. This is the repository of the entity and one service package and then the service implementation. This structure is almost same with the previous one, student microservice. So now you see this the base package, which is the parent for all these packages. We have course application, and here we have Spring Boot application. And this is the property source where I have added my course.property file in which we have database related items. Okay, so first let's see here this application.yml. When we create this project, the name is application.properties. So I change it to application.yml so that we can have this parent-child hierarchy. Here for this application, I have kept the server port 8081. By default, it runs on 8080. So you can change your port like this. And the application name I have kept course-service. This is the data source, URL, username, password, JPA, DDL, auto, none. About all these things, I have explained in very detail in my third video. So you can go ahead and check with that. These values I am getting from property files. So let's see that property file. Here it is course.properties. Okay, you can also create course.properties. And here is the database.url. This is the database and this is the default port for MSSQL. This is the database username, that login which we created in here, this one course. This login has to be here and this is the password. And then here database.dialect, this driver class name. So these are the required fields we need here, okay, for the connection. Now let's go to entity. So for course entity, I have added three fields. One is ID, name, duration. When we annotate with @annotative, that means this class is the table in our database with the same name in small letter. And this is the ID, primary key. This annotation you can check in second video I have explained. And now we have repository for this course repository. So whenever you have to create the repository, you have to keep the naming convention very carefully. This is the entity name and after that you have to write repository. I have extended this with JPA repository which provides us the basic CRUD operations like save, delete and get find by ID like that. Here is the service. This is the interface. Here I have created 5 operations. First is create. To create the course, I am expecting course in request and response will be return value will be boolean. Then I will pass course ID and then I want to get the course for that ID. Here in this method I will get all the courses saved in database. This is for update and this is for delete. I have given the implementation in this class. Okay, so let me close this one now. So this is the implementation for this service class. See here what I'm doing in create. I'm getting the course in request param, and then I'm saving using this course repository. When you pass this one and you call course repository.save, which is provided by JPA repository, so it will save this object, this complete object in database course table. This is get by ID. So to get by ID, I have to do course repository.findById, course ID. get all. So for that I have to write course repository dot find all. This is also provided by JPA. So when you write like this, find all, it returns all course in course table. That's why the return type is list, because we can have multiple courses. For update, so whatever object will come here, and it should have an ID. So for that ID, it will update other details. So this is also provided by JPA. Delete, for delete, we have to pass the course ID in delete by ID, which is again provided by the JPA. And once this operation is done, I'm returning as true. Let's go to controller, course controller. Here is the controller, and I'm accessing that service using @autowire. This controller is expecting /course in the URL, then it will come to this course controller. After that, I am using first post mapping because it requires post data. So to get any object in a JSON format, we have to annotate that parameter as a @request body. Then that JSON content will be automatically converted to object. And this same I am passing to this course service.create. This get all will be a get mapping. This is get by ID. So this URL will be like /course/ID. Then it will hit here. And if there is nothing, then it will take default value as 1. This is for update and this is for delete. So we are done with our code. Now let's test it. Right click here, run Spring Boot app. Okay, cool. It's started now. For user interface, I'm using Postman. So let's open a new tab. And here, first of all, I want to save first record in our course table. So for that, I'll use localhost, HTTP localhost, and port is 8081/course. This HTTP method should be post and it requires a body. So to pass body, go here, body, click raw. We need to send a JSON body. Now, after selecting JSON, you can write here. So we will pass name as BTech. We will give duration 4 years. We don't have to pass ID because ID is auto-generated. Let's click here, and here you go. We got the response as true. That means a record is created in table. Then query to select district from course, and here we go. We have our first record ID 1, BTech 4. Let's insert one more record. We'll keep this as MTech and value 5, duration 5. Click here, we got true. Now let's see in database, again query the same, and we have our second row. See here ID is incremented 1, 2, 3 like this. Now we have done with post mapping. Let's do get all. So to query for get all, course, it should be get, and here we go. We got these records, 2 records. First is BTech and second is MTech. Now we will do this one, get by ID. So for that we have to add /ID in the request. Okay, let's copy this same, open new tab, paste here, add ID. This will be get, and we have to pass ID. So ID equal 1. Okay, we got the record for ID equal 1. If we pass 2, we have the record for the ID equal 2. So this REST API is also working. Now let's do the put mapping. So put mapping we use for update. If you want any update in database table, we use put mapping. So here for update, we have to Again, open new tab, copy this one. This should be /course. It should be changed to put, and we need request body in JSON format. So select here JSON, and here we will pass ID, because for this ID only it will change. So we will change data for the first ID. We want to change the name. So name I'm keeping here BA, and duration I'll keep 3 here. Okay, so ID will be same, but name and duration will be changed. Click here. We got result as true, and so let's check again from REST API itself. Pass ID 1, and here you see the change value is coming. Even if you go and check in database, the data is changed. So this request is also done. Let's check this delete mapping. So whenever we want to delete any record from table, we use @delete mapping. So for this also we want to have ID in request param. Okay, change this to delete, and then we will pass ID. So we want to delete second one. Let's click here. It is wrong. Okay, we don't want to. Oh, we don't have to pass this one /ID. Okay, now it again. Okay, we got true. Let's check in database. Okay, we don't have any data. That's all. Cool guys. We just tested our REST API. So our course microservice is ready. That's all guys for this video. We have successfully created our second microservice course. In next video, I will create API gateway. If you like this video, please like and share this video and subscribe the channel. Don't forget to click on bell icon to get notification for the upcoming videos. Thanks.